Welcome to this video on Business and Entrepreneurship Education Grade 9. In this lesson, you will learn about Unit 9, which is on international trade. Now, let's look at the learning objectives for this unit. At the end of this unit, you will be able to, firstly, define trade, secondly, distinguish between home trade and international trade, and thirdly, explain the importance of trading with other countries. First, let's look at the meaning of trade. Trade is defined as the buying and selling of products. That is, trade is the exchange of goods and services between buyers and sellers involving money. For trade to take place, we need to have a buyer and a seller. The buyer will spend money to obtain goods and services, while the seller will receive money in exchange for the goods and services offered. Buyers can either be consumers or firms. Consumers usually trade to satisfy their needs and wants. Some examples of goods that consumers buy are shoes, cakes, cleaning materials, and so on. Firms, on the other hand, also buy goods and services with the aim to produce other goods and services. Firms trade in products with the aim of making profits. Some examples of goods that firms buy are raw materials, machinery, equipment, and so on. Now, let's look at home trade and international trade. There are two forms of trade. They are, first, home trade, and second, international trade. Do you know what home trade is? Well, home trade refers to the buying and selling of goods and services within the country itself. Another name for home trade is local trade. Home trade occurs when both the buyers and the sellers are from the same country, meaning that only one country is involved in the trade process. For example, an entrepreneur buys raw materials from a local supplier and sells the product to customers in the country. It is to be noted that the entrepreneur, the supplier, and the customers are all from the same country. Examples of home trade are supermarkets, a hawker selling ice cream, bakery. Now let's look at the meaning of international trade. International trade takes place when two or more countries buy and sell products with each other. For example, an entrepreneur in Mauritius buys raw materials from China, hence international trade takes place. Therefore, in this situation, Mauritius is paying money to China in order to obtain the raw materials. International trade consists of imports and exports. What is export? Export refers to the sale of goods and services to foreign countries. Export allows enterprises to sell more goods and services. In return, money flows in the country when enterprises export goods. Let's consider an example of export. When an entrepreneur in Mauritius sells sugar to Germany, here it can be seen that sugar is leaving Mauritius and going in Germany. In return, money is flowing out of Germany to Mauritius. Mauritius is getting money. Let's now move on to imports. What is import? Import refers to the purchase of goods and services from foreign countries. It represents expenses to enterprises. Import causes money to flow out of the country. Let's consider an example of import. When an entrepreneur in Mauritius buys milk from Australia. Here, it can be seen that money is leaving Mauritius and going in Australia. In return, goods in form of milk is flowing out of Australia to Mauritius. Mauritius is paying money. Well, let's now move on to the importance of trade. Trade is very important for any country because it generates money which promotes economic development. It also creates employment. Moreover, consumers get access to a variety of goods and services. It also leads to a better quality of life. And finally, it allows sharing of technology and ideas. Here are some additional links that you may use to gain more understanding on international trade. Well, students, we've now reached the end of today's lesson. Until next time, goodbye.